Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Binghamton City Council Business Meeting for Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for that. Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
It looks like Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Present.
Councilwoman Riley,
Present.
Councilwoman Friedman,
Present.
Councilman Burns,
Present.
Councilman Scanlon,
Present.
and President Strawn.
Present.
That's 6 here, 1 absent. Scaringi.
Okay, now I'll ask for the approval of minutes for the July 2022 business meeting. Councilwoman Resnetti.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to motion for the approval of minutes from the July 20th, 2022 business meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you for that. We will now hold a public hearing. Mr. Clerk, will you please announce the public meeting and tell folks how they can participate, please?
Okay, yes, we have one public hearing tonight. And this is a public hearing regarding RL 22-186 entitled an ordinance amending the bond ordinance adopted January 22nd, 2020 for an increase in the cost of the replacement of the tennis courts. Residents wishing to speak during the public comment may do so by clicking the raised hand button via Zoom and leaving it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one. And please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton. Thank you. Okay, we have one person with their hand raised. We will allow them to speak now. I believe it's Tina Chronopoulos. You have 5 minutes.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, great. Thank you. Starting the timer. My name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue in Binghamton in Sophia Resniti's district. So when we're talking about the tennis courts, I believe we're talking about the tennis courts in Rec Park. Am I right about that? Anyone?
Yes, it's for the bond.
Okay, yes, thank you. Yes. I mean, I just wanted to make sure that we're not talking about tennis courts somewhere else because the ones that I know about are the ones at Rec Park. So I guess I just wanted to let you know that I am unhappy about the fact that you are going to be increasing the cost for the repair here because there's been this ongoing issue of sinking more money into these courts. One of the justifications that you brought forward was that the courts need to be redone because of the tournament that takes place there. The tournament has now not taken place in 2020, in 2021, and in 2022. So it's been 3 years, partly because of the pandemic, but I'm guessing also partly because the tennis courts are not up to snuff. And I guess I am just frustrated with the way that this has happened, right? Like repairs took place and then there was a problem. And I guess you need more money to make that happen when other services in the city could do well with that money. And if I remember correctly, you used money from what is called, I'm looking it up because I'm not sure, CB, it's something like, housing for community development block grant programs. And I think there was some sneaky maneuvering that happened by arguing that the north side of Rec Park is part of a community that needs funding when most areas around the park actually don't fall within CDBG programming. In any case, I am unhappy about this. I wish you wouldn't do it, but I guess I'm repeating myself. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else via Zoom, please raise your hand and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one.
There's nobody else on Zoom. Nobody else on Zoom. Okay,
Light is green.
we have one person down here, Mr. John Solak, so we're gonna let him speak now.
Okay, thank you very much. This is very troubling. Now, let me go, not from my own thoughts, but let me refer to the WSKG news story in February of this year. Jeff Cram and the city council were featured in that story. There was an admitted problem with the mystery problem with the tennis courts that didn't involve drainage, but it was only going to cost $12,000. That's from WSKG radio, NPR in February. Now, at the end of March, there's a WNBF story. And that story features a quote by Mayor Jared Cram that there would be no charge whatsoever to this problem, whatever it was, and that the wasn't a drainage problem, but the contractor was going to handle it all. And furthermore, that the tennis courts would be open in July. Well, I have heard no further explanation from our mayor, Jared Cram, on exactly what the problem is. But we're talking about bonds here. Bonds fall under the domain of the Securities and Exchange Commission, and you hire a bond counsel. And this is a bond. And this is what this hearing is about. And the bondholders are going to need the complete notification, the complete story on this tennis court debacle. Not going to just put down 700,000 Rec Park tennis courts without explaining it to the investors, explaining what went wrong. Fact of the matter is, Binghamton's an old city, you know, and the ground is old too. And anything you put on the ground, like that monstrous viewing stand, is going to affect what's on the ground below it. The taxpayers and the public, the bondholders, are entitled to a full and complete explanation of exactly what happened here, unless Jared Cram is planning to go to the Pentagon after his term as mayor, because this would be no problem if it was a DOD contract. But for a city of Binghamton contract with $100 million paltry budget and obligations up the yin yang, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Be a big deal to you too if you were the guy that put in your driveway, said, "Oh, by the way, it didn't work. I'm sorry. I know I said I'd make it good, but I can't." And it's a 70 or 80% increase right now. So what went on? What went on? Why don't you tell the people what went on between February and March that requires this bonding? And you have to notify your bond counsel. This is sloppiest work I've ever. This should be a lawsuit. This should be a lawsuit. Was Cram just making it up as he went along? I mean, if the contractor said he was going to take care of it, is there documentation? Is there notes? What's the documentation? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But see, this is what you get When you get a former mayor that wants to run for New York State Senate and wants to pile in all these projects so he can go to the grand openings when they open up during the height of his Senate campaign. This is what you get when you load the one mayor loads the projects up to suit his political purposes. But Mayor Cram, come forward. I mean, this is arrogance. Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable what has happened to public service in America and in the United States of America. It's just unbelievable.
You have 1 minute.
Okay, I appreciate it. So, again, a big obligation, a huge obligation for what it is, We're talking about a once-a-year tennis tournament. We're talking about no tennis is going on, and people are obviously getting along without it. But the point is this. We had serviceable tennis courts, and a charming tennis tournament was here and functioning for, I don't know what, 8-10 years. We didn't need this. And it hasn't been executed. And it needed to be executed perfectly, and it wasn't. And somebody has to take responsibility, not only for the financial loss, but for the loss of faith. Now, Cram can get up there and talk every which way and Sunday, but he's not telling the truth. So, I don't know what's going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else willing to speak? Please click the raised hand button and leave it raised. This is on the public hearing for the bond.
Okay, seeing no one else on Zoom or anybody with the raised hands, I would take a motion to close the public hearing.
I move that we close the public hearing at this time. This is Councilwoman Riley.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for that. We will now move on to our public comment portion of our meeting. Mr. Clerk, will you please announce the public comment and tell folks how they can participate?
Yes. So at this point, we will open up public comment via Zoom. Please click the raised hand button and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak for 5 minutes. Please state your full name and if you live or work in the city of Binghamton. And we did receive one electronic communication. I'm not sure if any council members want to read that now.
I'm happy to do that. Should I wait until?
You want to read it?
Okay,
You have it or here?
I do. I have it. Oh yeah, actually, can I have the hard copy? Thanks.
We have one comment that was sent into the clerk's office, and Council Member Friedman is going to read that into the record.
Good evening. As a lifelong Binghamton resident, I want to express my strong support for the mayor's proposed law to control the spread of student housing in Binghamton. I'm very concerned about wealthy out-of-state investors buying up so many of the limited supply of single-family homes in Binghamton. This will result in fewer homes being available for Binghamton residents to purchase, and those few that are available will be of either poorer quality or much more expensive and may be out of reach of young families starting out. I strongly approve of anything that can be done to curb this land grab by greedy, rich investors who don't live in the state, let alone in this city. We know what can happen when greedy investors from out of state buy up numerous properties in Binghamton. We have seen it with Isaac Anzarut, for one example, or companies like Amicus Properties or Stonebridge Property Group buying up dozens of homes at once. I would definitely support any law that would put a stop to this kind of real estate takeover by greedy out-of-state investors with very deep pockets. I just read an article titled "Corporate Investors Feast on Binghamton's Rental Housing Market," which illustrates how these investors are only paying a small fraction of what they should be paying in property taxes if the city assessments were fair. So in addition to gobbling up so much of the housing inventory and driving up home prices in this area, they are also leaving a greater tax burden to native Binghamton homeowners. I strongly approve of anything reasonable that can be done to control these out-of-state investors from buying up so much of the limited housing supply in Binghamton, which makes it so much more difficult for Binghamton residents to be able to buy a home in their own city. Thank you. And that's from Michelle Greenman.
Thank you.
Anyone else willing to speak during public comment, please click the raised hand button and leave it raised. At this time, we will allow Tina Chronopoulos to speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, super, thank you. I start the timer. My name is Tina Chronopoulos. I live on Laurel Avenue. The person who represents me on City Council is Sophia Restaniti. I would like to also address the new zoning law that apparently is coming down the pike. And one question I have about this is, how will this exactly be enforced? And the reason I'm asking is because you already have zoning laws on the books, but you only have one enforcement officer. So how will one enforcement officer be able to tackle enforcing this law exactly? And what kind of wording are you going to use? Because I'm not sure that in the law, will you be able, is it legal to say this law makes it illegal for more than 4 college students to live in a house? Or will you use other language? In other words, how exactly are you going to be targeting students? How can you make sure that you aren't also inadvertently targeting other residents in Binghamton who will live together, for example, to share costs to make living more affordable? Like, what happens if we have 2 unmarried couples and they each have 1 child, so 3 + 3 is 6? Would that be illegal if they live in a house? Like, I'm curious how the language is going to be made to not inadvertently affect some of the poorest folks in our city. And again, I want to know how exactly this is going to be enforced. As for what the previous person said in their letter, of course, I would welcome anything that will stop big time investors from buying up housing stock in the city, but I'm not sure that this zoning law does that, right? We see rent gouging all the time. Infamously, Isaac Anzerud, but also there is Sal Housing. They own 1,500 properties in the city. So to me, of course, I'm not a lawyer. I will leave it to the lawyers to do lawyerly things. But to me, this looks like window dressing by the mayor so that he can say that, I am protecting the good old middle class people and their nice little neighborhoods from going to pieces. But I'm not actually sure that this has real teeth and will have any real effect other than probably driving up prices, probably making it even harder for people who are not students in the city to find housing. And I think I told you this before, I'm going to say it one more time. It is almost impossible to find housing in the city that is on a bus line that doesn't cost the earth, right? So I have a new colleague who is coming to Binghamton who needs to live on a bus line. And we had to turn heaven and earth in order for them to find a place to live. So I think you should be focusing your efforts on doing things that are more substantial than window dressing. And I said this last time, I'm just going to say it again. I hope that someone somewhere, city council perhaps, can take some initiative and drawing up an accounting for how you all have spent ARPA money so that the residents of Binghamton can see just how you have spent this money on things that we don't really need, like, buying more cars for the police. I think you have maybe 200 police officers.
You have 1 minute
currently
left.
Working for you, thank you. But you only have one enforcement officer. Hello? How y'all gonna enforce that new zoning law with one enforcement officer? And I think you only have 3 or 4 people working on enforcing codes. Y'all employ 200 officers, but you don't have enough enforcement people on the streets. Come on now. So I think it would be really good to get some accounting to see on how you've spent that ARPA money. And yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna just repeat myself because I like doing that. Not sure if it's happened yet, but really looking forward to hearing Sophia Resaniti apologize to Dr. Angela Riley for her quite despicable behavior last year while Sophia Resaniti was quote unquote the president of the council. Thanks for your time. Take care.
We'll just finish the Zoom up.
Anyone else willing to speak? Please click the raised hand button. It looks like our next speaker will be Sue Bell. You have 5 minutes.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we hear you loud and clear.
Oh, all right. This is Steve Bellingham. I live at 53 Johnson Avenue in the city of Binghamton. And I just want to, express my personal concern as well as many of the neighbors on Johnson Avenue, as well as Chestnut and, just the people of the west side as far as the student housing that has been creeping in into residential areas that are zoned, R1, R2. And really the lack of enforcement that has happened in the past in regards to, student housing. There has been zoning laws in regards to that in place already for residential in residential districts. But, it seems to have happened anyway. I applaud, the idea of, enforcing this, but again, I have the same concern as who's going to enforce it and will it be enforced to the letter of, what they're stating it will be. And still, student housing, we need student housing, yes, but, and I agree with the other speaker that, the housing for families on the west side of Binghamton is, unaffordable in many cases. And some of the landlords, to include the one that had just purchased a property on Johnson Avenue that was advertising it as it was a 3-bedroom house, and they were advertising it as a 6-bedroom house at $525 per bedroom. And that they have not done a single thing to that property since it's been purchased. You can already see the downgrading of that property happening. And is that property allowed, as well as the other properties, allowed to house students this year until enforcement of the new zoning law goes into effect in 2023, is my understanding. So, as a resident here on the west side of Binghamton, I've got some deep concerns with student housing creeping into, what is supposed to be residential neighborhoods, and the quality of the neighborhood going down because of the quality of the upkeep of the property, decreasing and having that effect on everyone else's property as well. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much.
Okay, anyone else willing to speak? Please click the raised hand button and leave it raised, and we will allow you to speak one by one.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Hello?
Tell that person to.
Hello?
Them a second.
Yes. Mark, God, I'm sorry. We'll let you speak in 1 minute, okay?
Okay.
5 minutes, I should say.
Okay. I'm John Solak. The Binghamton has been flipped already. The student housing projects downtown have been flipped a couple of times. Newman has headed west, and that's where the action's going to be. Binghamton's now stuck with the problems. Now, Cram said that every day, or when he would drive in from the town of Shenango, he'd see the Binghamton Plaza and be really upset about it, that he had to drive by that plaza. So Harris Beach, a Syracuse law firm, one of the three biggest law firms in Syracuse, has been hired. I don't know how much per hour they're getting, but I sue a fair amount of companies. In fact, in the state of Delaware, 1 year I was in the top 3 of shareholders that filed lawsuits. And I can tell you this, that when a company or when there's any kind of bankruptcy proceeding, that's the end of my activity. Because you're not going, the insurance doesn't apply, nothing applies. So here we go, ex post facto, we're filing an eminent domain claim in a New Jersey bankruptcy court. How much is that going to cost? Now, I know why you do it, because Harris Beach is going to give them a contribution sometime around the, but how much money is this going to cost? Let me tell you something. The county went on a similar wild goose chase on 59 Leicester Avenue, the site of the redevelopment. A guy used to store cars there. It was a storage facility for automobiles. Didn't pay their taxes. The county ended up with the building. The guy went to Florida. He went bankrupt. The county wanted the building back. There was no eminent domain in this case. This was just a straight bankruptcy. County spent $130,000. Now, this is 20 years ago. $130,000 for a Florida law firm, and they ended up with diddly on that. Now, they ultimately got it back, but not through that legal action. So this is the city charter has delineates the mayor's responsibilities. He's not supposed to be a dreamer or trying to be a Donald Trump imagining projects. And when the county took control of the city's tax collection and a lot of the other municipalities here, the feature in that was that the county was going to handle all these matters. Now the mayor wants this project back. He wants a trouble spot back, a brownfield back into the city's property inventory. Why? Because he wants to play big shot. That's why. But it's not going anywhere. And I don't know if you've put a limit on the legal fees, but you better. You're gonna end up. And again, if this was such a brilliant idea, how come it wasn't hatched before the bankruptcy? So the mayor's involved. Never play cards with a guy named Isaac, and never foreclose and try an eminent domain with people named Galassi, because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. Now, as far as the key point is that these landlords don't do anything with these properties. It's just chutzpah. You get in there, and if you had an old lady and she had four students, some of these schools encourage students to move in with senior citizens. I think Fordham does it. And the senior gets a little rent action, and the students get some stability. But this is nonsense. This is madness, and it hasn't panned out. Look at Court Street's never been worse. 100-year-old drugstore. It's all. One guy gets arrested, 2 guys get arrested on a rape charge, and it's all over with.
1 minute.
Then you got Anzaru too. So this is very bad. I've never seen the city in such bad shape. It is in bad shape in all ways. Don't kid yourself. And, we've got an incubator. I guess we're all supposed to just go get stoned. I guess that's the way we deal with this situation now. But I don't want to get stoned. And I look to Ithaca, a college town, done right, professionals, millions of dollars coming into that town, rightly or wrongly. But Ithaca is going to be a mini Newport Beach in about 5 years. You won't recognize the place. All quality construction, none of this jerry-rigged stuff. So, good luck. Good luck, Binghamton. Good luck, Jared Cram. Just start telling the truth. And by the way, just one last point. People are running for higher office on fiscal conservatism, and they're running on fighting taxpayers. Where's the fight on this rec court bond? Where's this fight? $700,000. Where's the fight? Where's the fiscal conservatism? It doesn't exist.
Okay, anyone else willing to speak? Please click the raised hand button and leave it raised. We will allow you to speak one by one. Okay, Margot, it looks like you're up.
Thank you. Thank you. I won't be 5 minutes. I'm Margot Doyle. I live at 50 Johnson Ave. I was previously a landlord and decided to get out of the business because it's just hard to be a small time landlord and be successful. So a couple of comments. How are we going to manage this? I'm really surprised that the city doesn't have a system for registering landlords, because if you want to, tell these people they can't rent to students, you need to, well, I guess maybe you don't need to inform them. You can just go in after the fact. But going in after the fact and students are already living there, that's going to be more complicated. So registering landlords, inspecting the properties, like really what is the goal here? Is it just to keep students away from certain neighborhoods, or is it to make the city a safer and better place for everybody that lives here, whether it's students, whether it's homeowners, or whether it's people who want to rent their home? Code enforcement is so minimal. And we've got people living in, when I was renting a property, I had lots of people that wanted to rent for me because my home was well taken care of and safe and up to code. Well, I guess it wasn't up to code, really doesn't mean much in the city of Binghamton. So how's it going to be enforced? I think we need to register landlords, do home inspections. We need to invest in that. We can charge landlords. Other cities do it. City of Albany does it. You register landlords, charge them, $50 for a 4-unit home, $100 for a 12-unit home, or whatever. That helps finance the cost of having a staff person who can go do these inspections and truly make Binghamton a safe place, because a safe and a beautiful place, because really that's what I want and that's where I want to live. So I think, unfortunately, this is just a window dressing and it's not going to solve the problem. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Anyone else willing to speak? You have 5 minutes. Please click the raised hand button.
President Strawn,
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. While we wait for anybody else, I was just wondering if anyone was escorting Mr. Solak out, or if he went through the clerk's office.
He left.
Did he go downstairs to the clerk's office?
Yes,
He
yes.
did. I don't know that we have
Okay.
anyone to
Can
escort.
can we just take a second? Because that's a secure space that he shouldn't have come up through or should not be
Sure.
unsecure. We just take a second, make sure that that's
Yes. The
safe.
clerk's
Thank
gonna
you.
go down there and take care of that right now.
I appreciate that.
Mr. President,
Yes, Councilman Scanlon, go ahead.
is that how Mr. Solek got in the meeting itself? Do you know? Did he come up
Okay.
through the clerk's office? Do we know?
Yes, this is Council Member Friedman. He followed in behind me as I used my badge to swipe in.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Aviva. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Lee.
No. Okay, we will, seeing no more hands raised, we will, end public comment at this time. We have an additional item in our communications section. We have a request to the Planning Commission, and I will turn that over to Councilman Scanlon.
Sorry, Mr. President, I had to mute myself.
No
All right,
problem.
I make a motion that City Council formally requests that the Planning Commission reviews and offer recommendations on the matters related to amending the city zoning regulation for cannabis and student housing.
Second.
Okay, any brief discussion on this? Obviously, just to reiterate, this will deliberation, and then if they approve it, it will come back to us for deliberation, and we will have the final say on the matter. But for any brief discussion on the request to send this over to the Planning Commission? Okay, I'm going to take a voice vote on this. All in favor of requesting to the Planning Commission these matters? Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you for that, everyone. We will now move on to the legislative portion of our agenda. We have the preferred agenda. 2 items. Would anybody like anything removed from the preferred agenda? Okay, Mr. Clerk, if you'd walk us through those items, we appreciate it.
Okay, we have 2 items on the preferred agenda tonight. The first item is introductory ordinance 22-114, considered in finance. And this is an ordinance to amend the 2022 general fund budget to pay for the demolition expenses to be reimbursed by Broome County.
Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-114? Okay, please proceed.
Okay, next we have introductory resolution 22-72, considered in planning. And this is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a term agreement with Evans Mechanical and All Phase Electric to install an HVAC unit at the First Ward Senior Center Library.
Okay. Any questions or comments on introductory resolution 22-72? Okay. We have a motion to approve the preferred agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Mr. Clerk, please.
Okay, Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley. It looks like she may have logged off. I'll mark her as absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 absent, Scaringi and Riley.
Okay, thank you for that. We will now move to our non-preferred agenda. We have introductory ordinance 22-112 considered in planning. Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. President. An ordinance authorizing the sale of 49 Lydia Street to David Tomasco and Sherry Tomasco for $500.
Do we have a second on that?
Need a second? I'll second.
Okay. Any questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-112? Oh, I apologize. Councilman Scanlon does have a seeker motions attached to this as well.
Correct. Correct, yep. All right, I'll start with the seeker now. A motion to declare city council as lead agency under seeker.
Do we have a second for that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
Motion to identify the proposed action as unlisted under seeker.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion to issue a negative declaration under seeker for the following reasons. This is a vacant lot in a residential area. The purchaser owns the adjacent property, adjoining property at 51 Lydia Street. The proposed one is green space. The transfer will preserve green space and provide for future maintenance. I think I got that. Transfer is made as part of the city's side lot programs.
Second.
We have a roll call vote on that last seeker motion, please.
Okay, Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Rusnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley appears to still be absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
and President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 absent, Scaringi and Riley.
I'll go back and read that again, Mr. President.
Yep, go ahead, Councilman Scanlon.
An ordinance authorizing the sale of 49 Lydia Street to David and Sherry Tomasco for $500.
Second.
Okay, any additional questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-112?
Total question, Mr. President?
Thank you. Roll call vote, please, Mr. Clerk.
Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Rusnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley is absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 absent, Scaringi and Riley.
Okay, thank you. Okay. We now have introductory ordinance 22-113 considered in finance. Councilman Scanlon.
An ordinance amending the bond ordinance adopted January 22nd, 2020, and bond ordinance adopted July 22nd, 2020, on account of an increase in the cost of replacement of the tennis courts.
Second.
Questions or comments on introductory ordinance 22-113?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead, Councilman Burns.
Yeah, I just want to, for people that will be watching the video or that are watching live, that we were told by the mayor and our comptroller that this increase, we are not going to be borrowing any more money
for the tennis courts, even though we are increasing this bond. The cost has been increased by the mistakes made. And the city will be not be responsible for these increases. So we will not be spending any more money. We won't be borrowing any more money to do this project. So we are told, and I don't see any reason why not to believe that. So that's why I will be voting yes for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Burns. Any other questions or comments on integrated ordinance 22-113?
So it's important to know on this piece of legislation that City Council has already approved seeker for this legislation when they originally passed it.
Thank you.
Call the question, Mr. President.
Roll call.
Okay, Councilman Scaringi is absent. Councilwoman Resnetti,
Aye.
Councilwoman Riley is still absent. Councilwoman Friedman,
Aye.
Councilman Burns,
Aye.
Councilman Scanlon,
Aye.
President Strawn.
Aye.
That's 5 ayes, 2 absent, Scaringi and Riley.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Well, a little disjointed tonight. We got through it, so we appreciate that. We will now move on to our communications. And I think Councilwoman Riley is still absent, so we will go to District 4 and Councilmember Friedman.
Thank you, President Strawn. I had the opportunity today to go to the metaphorical ribbon cutting of sorts of the Broome County Land Bank's newest property at 33 Linden Street that has been renovated. And a lot of the residents on Linden Street had pointed to this property as a problem property or a property that they were not happy with. And I was able to take a tour of the home, and it really is beautiful. I want to live in it, frankly. And what's exciting is that there are specific income guidelines. And the reason why I say that's exciting is because the prospective buyers there's an income cap, actually. And so it's in an effort to make sure that this beautifully renovated house goes to someone who may not otherwise be able to afford a house like this one. And so I know affordable housing continues to be a hot button issue and one of the things that is most important to my constituents. So I want to congratulate again the Broome County Land Bank and the First Ward Action Council for this exciting opportunity. And everyone stay cool. It's supposed to be really hot tomorrow. So make sure you stay hydrated. Stick your feet in a bowl of ice water or something if you can. Because heat waves, when it gets to be this hot, it can be dangerous. So please stay safe, stay cool, stay hydrated. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to District 5 and Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Mr. President. A lot of the work done on the south side. Pennsylvania Avenue is finished. Aldrich Avenue is finished. Mary Street has been started. But the south side is looking good. I saw the street cleaners going by. I drove by that truck 3 times this week. So street cleaners are out there. And the south side is looking good. So I'd like to thank the city workers for all of that. And I want to thank the callers that called in about the student housing zoning. It is going to be complicated, and we do all have to talk about that a little more, about how it will be enforced, et cetera. And I call it the pot smoking zoning that'll be going in. I'm very interested in that. Okay, but that's in the future, and thanks very much.
Thank you, Councilman Burns. We will now move to District 7 and Councilman Scanlon.
Thank you, Mr. President. It was brought up at the work session on Monday about having SROs in the grade schools. I've been attempting to push the school board, which I have no say with, obviously, for a couple of years now to get that done. I just think it's necessary to have them. So far, the school board hasn't pushed for that. I think they should. Obviously, it's their decision, obviously, but I just think it's necessary at the times we live in right now to have that protection in the schools. Other than that, so I was listening to Monday. I went back and I missed the work session, obviously. I went back and listened. And we should have had a simple process of moving the zoning regarding 3 or 4 students. The planning commission turned into a problem. I'm not sure why. It should have been a simple deal, but it wasn't. For us to get a draft is a draft is a draft. It's not the final output. We just need to let the planning commission do their due diligence, which I'm sure they will, and then bring it back to us. We have the final say in the end. But it should have been a simple process, but it wasn't. That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now go to District 2 and Councilwoman Resonetti.
Hi, I'm sorry. Can you hear me okay? I keep going in and out. Can you guys hear me okay? I've lost connection here a couple of times.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. I'll make it really short. I just wanted to just quickly take a second to say that my thoughts have been today with Officer Lee Barda's family. As many of you remember, he was killed 27 years ago on the line of duty, and we will never forget the sacrifice, and we will always have our thoughts with their family, his family. Also want to just take a second and say what a great night last night was a National Night Out. I'm sure many of you did attend some of those events that were throughout Binghamton and around in our community. It was a great event that allows for stronger relationships between law enforcement and the community. There was food, music, booths with information regarding services, games, and so much more. So I just wanted to say a big thank you to all those who made it happen. What a great event. And I hope you'll have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Councilwoman Resonetti. I have just a couple really quick things. Councilman Burns noted that some of the construction starting and ending on the south side. So I had mentioned before, if anybody's out there listening, but the bottom part of Mary Street ultimately will be repaved, but it is now fully open between 434 and Vestal Ave. So if you avoided that section or avoided that Marabito station, please know that that is open. Coming off 434 or Vestal Ave. So please continue to use that nice store there if you did previously. I'm also looking forward to the process moving forward on the 2 items that we requested for referral over to the Planning Commission to see how that moves through the planning and back to us. Hopefully that process is robust as the comments started tonight with the student housing and the zoning and the issues on the west side. So I know it's a concern to people across the city, especially those residents on the west side. We look forward to that moving forward. I was able to attend the Broom Chamber legislative breakfast this morning, and it was very well attended by business and officials from across the area. And the Broom Chamber did a fantastic job hosting the event. So it was just exciting to see cross section of people coming together to move Binghamton forward, and just having the best interest of Binghamton in mind, and speaking to the leaders that were there from both political sides of concerns that they had to keep business moving forward and making this area a better place. But there was definitely consensus and support across the people that were there to do that. So that was nice to see. Finally, I just wanted to make a comment just to make sure there's no confusion. We did have one guest down here tonight. We elected to not, there's no safety issues. We elected to not have a confrontation. But I just want anybody that's listening out there to respect, we're following the governor's orders of, or the governor's opportunity to have meetings this way. And we do not have proper security in place for this building in the evening. So just ask anybody that's listening out there to respect our request to participate. I think people are getting used to this. There's plenty of ways to participate, either via Zoom or sending emails to the clerk's office by 1 o'clock on the day of the meetings. So I would just ask to respect our ability to continue doing the meetings this way until the governor changes her authorization and we have the proper protocols in place to have people down here, which we are all looking forward to. We just want to make sure we do it the right way and with the right security. With that, I will take a motion to adjourn our meeting.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Okay,